With the 6th and final season of Lucifer finally available for us to watch, we couldn't help but binge watch it in a day. So let us dive into the final season and explain everything to you guys and share with you some of the best moments that have happened in it. Let's get started.
Literal, Doctor. I was being metaphorical.
Ah.
Anyway, thank you.
Season 5 recap. Before we dive into Season 6, let us quickly remind you of everything that happened in Season 5 and led to all the events that happened in the next season. At the beginning of Season 5, we see Lucifer coming back from hell only to realize that his twin brother Michael is already on Earth and pretending to be him. He faces him and leaves him with a huge scar on his face so that he'll never be able to pretend he's Lucifer. Throughout the season, we've seen Michael and Lucifer come head to head, and at one point even Amenadiel got involved in a brotherly fight when their father, God, appeared. Later on in the season, it's revealed that God will be retiring and his spot would be available for one of the brothers. Michael becomes so obsessed with becoming God that he gets into a fight with Lucifer over it. During the fight, Michael kills Chloe, leaving Lucifer heartbroken and forcing him to go to heaven to save her. However, he knows that once he goes there, he can't come back. Nevertheless, he goes to heaven, saves Chloe by giving her the Ring of Immortality and brings her back to life on Earth. When Chloe wakes up, she goes after Michael for letting Lucifer die, but then the impossible happened when Lucifer casually flew down from heaven alive and, well, not knowing how that happened. After this, it was more than obvious that since he managed to make the trip to and back from heaven, he should be the one to take over his father's spot at being God. Season 6 explained. So, we left Season 5 with Lucifer becoming God, but Season 6 began with Lucifer preparing to become God only to be stopped when a certain somebody appears and stops him from going to heaven. At the end of Episode 1, we see a woman sitting on the throne in hell, but we're unable to see her face. Further in the series, we see that same woman arriving on Earth with Dan, who has spent a very long time in hell and just wants a chance to go to heaven. He ends up begging Lucifer to become God just so he can take him up to heaven. The woman, named Aurora or Rory for short, convinces Dan to go to Earth, and once they appear, we learn that Rory is in fact Lucifer and Chloe's daughter from the future. She tells them that she only went back to the past to kill Lucifer for leaving her right before she was even born.
I'm back.
Rory tells them that she only knows the time and place where her father disappeared and that it's on August 4th at 10th and Swanson. Lucifer thought that by that day he would either be dead or become God, and that would be why he wouldn't be there for his daughter. Dan, on the other hand, manages to insert himself in Vincent, the man who killed him, and escaped prison to look for Lucifer for help. Dan goes to see Trixie, saying that he's a friend of her father, and after he hears just how much she truly loves him, he's finally free of his biggest guilt and is allowed to go to heaven. However, while he was in Vincent's body, it appears that Vincent was also present with him, and he's learned how to kill Lucifer by hurting Rory. Vincent manages to kidnap Rory on August 4th, just when Lucifer and Chloe thought they had changed the timeline. Vincent started to torture Rory and take off her wings so he could use the sharp wings against Lucifer. The couple immediately goes to the warehouse where Rory is kept and tries to save her. In the process, Chloe gets shot, and while Lucifer tries to fight off Vincent, Rory manages to escape the chains and push him away. Then she grabs him and tries to choke him, showing her devil face when Lucifer steps in, asking her not to do the same mistakes he did. Rory lets him go, but Vincent attempts to hurt Lucifer one last time when Chloe shoots him as he falls down. As he slowly dies, he thinks he'll be able to see the light like Dan did, but he could only see darkness in front of him.
Rory, no! Rory, no, you can't do this! No!
When they all go back to the apartment, Chloe discovers that Dan has made it to heaven and pointed out that each person that made it from hell to heaven was thanks to the help from Lucifer. At that moment, Rory figures out why her father left her and knows that it was for something bigger and better for all of them. She goes back to the future, and before she does, she asks Lucifer not to change anything so she could remain the same. Lucifer has given the position of God to his brother Amenadiel and has accepted that he should go back and rule in hell. That evening, he and Chloe say their goodbyes as Lucifer returns to hell, waiting to see Chloe in about 20 years. After Lucifer leaves, we see a montage of the following years and what has happened. Chloe becomes a lieutenant and later on gives birth to Rory. Maze and Eve get married and are determined to fight crime while looking after Rory. Amenadiel takes his position as God, but works with his angel siblings to create a balance so he could spend time on Earth with his son Charlie, who we see with wings on his second birthday. Meanwhile in hell, Lucifer has become a therapist and helps people out of their hell loops. One day he gets a knock on his door, and when he opens it, he sees Chloe following her tragic death on Earth. As she walks inside, she tells him, "I thought you could use a partner," followed by a kiss between Lucifer and Chloe before the show ends for good.
Me thinking you bailed on August 4th with no explanation. Me.
Best moments. The entire season is definitely an emotional ride for all Lucifer fans out there. There were a lot of moments that made us cry and even some that made us laugh. However, we did have a few that stood out from the others. One of those moments was when Dan went back on Earth into the body of Vincent and went to see Trixie for the last time. He talks to her and tells her about Dan not being a worthy father. To that, Trixie responded that she was proud of her dad and everything he did, and he was the best role model she could ask for. This moment truly was emotional because it gave Dan the closure he needed, and it ended up opening the doors to heaven for him.
What are you talking about? He was the best dad ever.
The next best moment in the season, or moments, were the few where we got to see Lucifer actually caring for his daughter Rory without knowing her. In the scene where Vincent attacks Lucifer, he manages to prove that the thing he desires the most is to be a good father to Rory, and knowing that he lets her down is killing him. The second scene is where Rory goes back to the future, telling Lucifer not to change anything, and one day they'll end up meeting in hell where they belong.
You have my word.
I love you.
The last two best moments, and also two of the saddest moments in the season, were the moments when Lucifer decides to go back to hell and leaves Chloe behind, and the moment when they reunite. The scene where they both cry as they're saying goodbye is probably the saddest part ever in the season. He ends up leaving Chloe behind as he goes to hell, telling her they'll meet again in 20 years. The next scene, we see Chloe dying on Earth with Rory by her side, and as she goes to hell, she knocks on Lucifer's door, and they're reunited once again, and this time for eternity.
I thought you could use a partner.
On a related note, we wanted to know, what are your favorite moments from the 6th season of Lucifer? Let us know in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more amazing videos such as this one, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.